What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Monday morning here. Had quite a bit of a pullback in the markets last night, ranging from the S&P 500 to Bitcoin to altcoins, of course. What could be happening in this market? We're going to be talking about that later in this video, very shortly. We're also going to be talking about Cardano. Is a breakout coming for Cardano? Going to be taking a look into the charts for Cardano and see what is going on in this market. Since the last few days, we have talked about it. Also going to be talking about Arbitrum. Also going to be talking about MOONWELL from a request from one of my subscribers. And for that subscriber, sorry, I cannot be making my videos less than 15 minutes. But if you do want to fast forward to MOONWELL, I will be having it about the 10-minute mark, okay? 10-minute mark. I do need to talk about Bitcoin. That is the driver of the markets. I would not be trading any altcoins without the Bitcoin chart in the back of my head. This is why I talk about it every day. First things first, it is the driver of the markets. When it dumps, you can expect altcoins to be dumping soon or very shortly after, okay? If it's having any kind of pumps, it's going to be very short-lived. All right, so if you guys are new to this channel, you guys should know that I dive deep into the charts every day to find the moves before they actually happen, because let's face it, that's a lot less riskier than chasing a pump on the day of. And I do this with technical analysis, with charts to back it up. So if you guys want to learn technical analysis and see this market a lot more clearly for yourself, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And let's head into it. Bitcoin right now, hourly time frame, lost the moving averages on this hourly time frame, but now it's basically come back. Okay, what are we looking at here? Are we looking at a possible dump, or is this a very good dip opportunity? All right, we're gonna have to zoom out a little bit. So I've been talking about this chart right here, weekly time frame. Why is this very important? Now, as of yesterday, which is the last weekly candle close, this is very crucial because as of yesterday's weekly candle close, we did have the highest weekly candle close in the markets, okay, since the history of the market in Bitcoin, right? If you guys actually take a look at this, we actually closed at about 106, okay, and that is the highest weekly candle close. But right now, what we are looking at are some possible sell signals on the RSI, and I'm not going to ignore this, which is basically where we have a higher high on the price action chart. You compare this high with these two highs previously, because this is the higher high we're looking at, right? And we have a lower high on the RSI. Now, this usually spells a pullback here, right? But there has been exceptions. I'm going to be talking about the November 2024 weekly candle here, where we had a higher high on the weekly charts, but the bulls just invalidated that bearish divergence signal. The last time I can point out would be on the monthly time frame, would be right here, back in 2020, December 2020 monthly candle, okay? And we compared it with that previous high right there. There's obvious bearish divergence. However, the price action keeps going. Either way, gotta know that there is sell signal, but could the bulls actually invalidate it? Now let's go ahead and zoom in and see what we're dealing with here. Okay, going back to the daily time frame. Let's go back to the daily time frame here. We have a very obvious rising wedge right here. Okay, rising wedges tend to break to the downside. Okay, if this actually breaks by this point right here, we have an estimated price target of about just right underneath 98K. that is a major pullback for Bitcoin and could drag the altcoins down by a lot, let's just say. Okay, that is what maybe a 5-6% move for Bitcoin, which would be huge for the altcoins. Okay, so that is something to be keeping in mind, right? But of course, there is, even though rising wedges tend to break to the downside, there is a small chance it will break to the upside if the bulls are actually able to push through here. Now, what I'm looking at for this daily time frame, still very important, is because we still have a higher low on this daily time frame. Okay, if we actually hold a higher low, the next logical move is a higher high. That is just the technical definition of a uptrend. Okay, we still have a higher low here, so very important. When we start losing this higher low, then it's going to be looking not as good. Okay, so starting from the daily time frame. And of course, we're above the daily 200 SMA still. So that gives me a lot of confidence in this market as long as we are above the daily 200, which is the orange line here coming up at about 93,000. Also, let me say, if we actually break down from this rising wedge pattern, the next level of support I'll be looking at will be the daily 21 SMA, currently at about 100K, 100K, and 500. Okay, that's what I'm looking at as the next likely support if this price action breaks down. Let's go over here to Total 3. Still very important charts because it has broken above the daily 200, but now it's retesting it. Okay, but as long as Bitcoin is above its daily 200 SMA, I don't see why the Total 3 chart would not catch up. Okay, so talked about this pattern. Just recap. Daily chart right here broke out of this falling wedge pattern, a very common pattern that you guys will be seeing. Broke out of it. Price target still in play. 1.1 trillion, just right underneath that. That could still do some pretty amazing pumps for altcoins. Of course, there's going to be pullbacks along the way, right? As we're seeing right now. Let's take a look into ES1 exclamation mark, which is S&P 500. Very important chart as well because it is highly correlated with Bitcoin, and it could be a front-running signal for Bitcoin. That's why I'm usually pretty excited on Sunday afternoons here Pacific Standard Time, because this market opens and it could definitely throw a curveball for the crypto markets, as we have seen yesterday. Okay, Bitcoin went down to about 102,000. So paying attention to this, very important. Let's come to the 12-hour time frame. Okay, we do have a rising wedge as well. Okay, looking a lot like the Bitcoin chart, rising wedge pattern. However, if we actually take a look into a smaller time frame here, looks like a bear trap because price action looks like it tried to break down from this pattern, but the bulls actually just bought this right up and went back into the pattern. That is classic bear trap. Okay, so let's see where this is going to take us. I think it's going to be a very exciting week, especially, we have the short-term pattern charted out for us. If this breaks to the upside, that can mean some pretty interesting upside price action for the markets. All right, let's go ahead and go to MOONWELL for one of my subscribers. And if you guys do want to see any altcoins, right, see me do any altcoins with technical analysis for price predictions, drop a comment, like, and subscribe in the section below. I will pick one request to do one for you guys every day. All right. MOONWELL. Let's see what's been going on in this market. Right here. All right, it is up. Right, it is up 8%. Take a look into a higher time frame, see what has gone on. I talked about this pattern here, right? Falling wedge pattern. It has not broken out yet. Okay, it has actually dipped, right? As of last week, at last week's weekly candle, right? Price target still in play. If it breaks out by this week, big if, right? It's going to be about 11 cents, just right underneath 11 cents price target. We're at 3.4 cents right now. Okay, price targets are estimates only. It could be more, it could be less. I've seen breakouts that have gone way short of the price target and way beyond the price target. So, you guys, you know, how I usually plan about it is, I plan to take profits along the way depending on how I position myself, right? I mean, that's just how I see it. I definitely want to take profits off the table. Depends on how I portion my positions, right? But that is just me personally. None of what I'm saying here is financial advice, right? Um, Now let's go ahead and take a look into this dip. This was a dip, right? We still have a higher low on this weekly time frame, and it hit the weekly 21 and the 50 as resistance. Moving averages, when it's above the price action, is resistance. Below the price action, it is support. So let's take a look. Smaller time frame here. Rising wedge, right? Broke down from it. Price target, breakdown target of this rising wedge is about 2.5 cents. Okay, let's see if it's gonna come all the way down there, right? It is consolidating around the daily 21 SMA right now, the blue line. So that is basically what we're seeing for MOONWELL. Let's take a look into a shorter time frame and see if we can get any hints on if this price action is going lower or could it be bouncing back from here. This is not exactly a rising wedge yet, right? Let me see here. Could this be it? Here it is. Here it is, actually. We have a bigger, we have a rising wedge since the breakdown of this pattern. 4-hour time frame. 3 candle touches on a trend line. Validate a trend line. And let's see if this price action is able to break out of this in a shorter time frame. Let's just say if it breaks out by this point. So we do have something interesting here that's in play, right? We have a bullish pattern, which is the falling wedge, the bigger bearish pattern, which is the rising wedge. So we have two things that are currently in play right now. Let's see which way this price action breaks. Of course, if this price, if MOONWELL breaks one of these trend lines, that will definitely give you a more solid idea of the direction. Let's just say if it breaks out by about this point, that will give you about a short price target of about 4.3 cents. All right, that's basically what I'm seeing for MOONWELL. Let's move on to top 200 crypto, which is going to be, first of all, we're going to be talking about Cardano first. All right, we talked about Cardano last couple of days. See what's going on in this market. Weekly time frame, very important. Because we have this is a, let me see here. This is a descending triangle pattern, okay? Which is usually a bearish pattern. Let me see if this is a descending triangle pattern. Let's see. Let's see if I can find 3 connecting candles on a trend line. All right, I think on this 12-hour, I think this is close enough for me, right? On this bottom trend line, it is a descending triangle pattern, right? which is usually bearish. We have a very close third candle touch on this 12-hour time frame. Now, measure move out of this descending triangle pattern. It's going to be huge. But is it going to happen, right? It's going to be right here. That's going to take you to negative territory. But that is just textbook technical analysis. Okay? Let's see if this is actually going to happen. The support here for this descending triangle pattern is going to be about 50 cents, right? Now, we're going to take a look into a shorter time frame and see what we're dealing with. Last time I mentioned a cup and handle, right, which the price action did try to break out of, but it didn't go anywhere close to the target. Okay, that could happen, right? So let's go ahead and invalidate this pattern right here. See what we're dealing with in a shorter time frame. It did get rejected at the daily 200 SMA, which is the orange line here. Okay, currently at about 81 cents. 4 hour, right here, you have a falling wedge. Price target out of this smaller pattern is going to be, let's just say if it breaks out by this point, measure move will give you about 84 cents. That will take you back up to the daily 200 SMA. Okay? If we actually see a break above this top trend line for Cardano, then that will invalidate this bearish pattern. All right, let's take a look into Arbitrum. See what is going on in this market. This is we haven't done an analysis on this coin. Monthly time frame. Very important to be paying attention to the monthly time frame, because if you see a monthly RSI reading, I'm gonna start running for the hills. Because if I actually take a look into what has gone on in other altcoins with a monthly RSI reading back in 2021, just let me know what happens down in the comment section below, right? If you guys look at altcoins with monthly RSI readings, tell me how long before the altcoins actually started dumping, okay? When we have an RSI reading in overbought territory. All right, let's go ahead and go to weekly time frame. Arbitrum, falling wedge pattern, huge falling wedge pattern, measure move out of this pattern. It's going to give you, let's just say if it breaks out by this point, measure move is going to be about $2, just $2.35. If this pattern stays intact, it could be broken down as well. It could have fake outs, right? Just taking this price target as just an idea, not 100%, right? Daily time frame. It is retesting that daily 21 SMA as supports. It looks like there could be a pattern built up on this 4-hour time frame. Here it is. And I would encourage you guys to actually do a measure move for yourself out of this pattern, because we're going to wrap this video up, and that'll be an exercise for you guys to practice technical analysis. That's it for today. This wraps it up for the video. Have a beautiful day.